beans. Today we're going to be doing a really long speed build. We are going to be extending my train tracks, decorating the shopping district, doing my museum entrance, and we're also doing a crater slash excavation site build, and we are going to be decorating the canal I built. Basically, this build is going to take up the entire left side of my island, or rather the side of my island you saw me demolish completely in my previous video, and if you haven't seen that, now would be a perfect time to go watch that. And to save time, I already pre-built some of it. I time traveled to install the bridges ahead of time, and I even paved some of the paths. And with that, let's get into the video. As you can see, I already paved some of the paths. I already moved Nook's Cranny and Able Sisters to where I wanted them to be. Here's the creator code I am going to be using, and right now I'm just extending the street a little bit more. Now that I finished extending the train tracks to where I want it to be, I'm doing a small perspective build, if you would even call it that. I just customized two simple panels to be completely black, and then I added a stone arch in front of it. As you can see, it kind of looks like a cave, and it looks like the train is going into the cave. Now I'm just adding utility poles and jail bars just to give it that Citycore effect. Now I'm just adding some trees. As you can see, I was really struggling with the placement of these because they were so close to the edge. To decorate my Able Sisters, I just added some clothing items in front of it. I wanted the clothes to look like school uniforms. I also added some sewing items next to it, just in case anyone wanted to get an alteration done to make it more realistic. In this street, I'm also adding these garden wagons and these cute little gnomes and the rodeo horse to make it look like the horses are pulling the carts. I just think it looks so cute. I'm also adding these little campers everywhere just so it looks like there's cars driving in the street. For my next cranny, I just added a fortune cookie cart and some other small decorations. I placed a cart banner here because I thought it looked nice with all the matching colors, but I figured this area would be seasonal, so as the seasons change, I am going to change out these decorations, but since there's no holiday right now, this is what it's going to look like. For my museum area, I wanted the front to be like a courtyard, similar to my last island. I basically used the exact same format as my Venetian garden. So here I am just adding that in, but with a lot more fossils. Here I am just starting on my Meteor Crater build. I wanted it to look like a meteor did hit my island, but later throughout the video it kind of doesn't look like that. So that's why I kind of renamed it to be an excavation site, but I'd like to think a meteor did crash on my island, so. I also wanted there to be a waterfall build right next to my museum, so here I am just mapping out that area and adding some waterfalls and some statues. just adding a pathway. I wanted you to be able to walk around this area just like a typical museum that has outside exhibits. So here I am just adding a little walkway. Here is where I realized I forgot to leave room for my stairs, so I'm just getting rid of some of the decorations I put and creating space on the cliffs for an incline. Finished with the shape of my excavation site, and I started to decorate it with some flowers and some fossils, but later on I didn't like how it looked and I changed it, so at the end you'll see what it actually looks like, but right now I'm just decorating it with whatever items I thought looked nice. is where I time traveled just to add in all the staircases. And right now I'm just finishing up this pathway, and I'm going to be working on another perspective build. Just going over all the blank areas with a transparent design square. If you didn't know, if you don't want fossils to spawn or flowers to spread or weeds to grow, you can just put a transparent design square on the ground and nothing will come through or spawn there. And here I am just making an X in the transparent square so I know exactly where I put it, and later on you can change it to be fully transparent. Working on that second perspective build I was talking about. I wanted it to look like when you are on top of the cliffs, when you look down there was a bunch of houses and it looked like a little neighborhood. I am utilizing the dog houses, the doll houses, and the HHA trophies that you get just to make it look like there's a bunch of little houses down here. And I'm also adding a train track because the train does go through the cliffs, so I thought adding that train track would be a perfect addition to make it look like the train track was actually running all throughout my island and leading to the neighborhood. I'm just decorating the small canal I built. I'm adding some mum cushions and some ducks to the middle of it to look like they're floating in the canal. Now I'm adding some seating areas next to the canal using some iron garden furniture. I just think it looks so cute. It looks like people are eating here. Now that we finally finished, now I'm going to give you the final walkthrough. As you can see, here's the canal with all the seating areas and all the little mum cushions and ducks. And to the left, we have Nook's Cranny. And down here is just the street area. And to the right, we have our Able sisters. And down here is just a continuation of the street. And as you can see, the railway system is to the left of the street. you can see the little perspective build and all the waterfalls. And up here we have the museum area, and as you can see, I forgot to turn the transparent square back to fully transparent. So here I am just changing it again really quickly. And up this way we have the museum courtyard with just some fountains, some shrubs, and a lot of pink flowers. Like I said, it's very similar to the Venetian garden I did on my other island. And there's the little fountain built with the statues. And here is the museum entrance. And as we continue down this way, you can see all the little houses as we look down. And down here is the Meteor Crater. And as you can see, I did change a couple things. I changed all the flowers to white. I moved around some of the fossils and even added a shovel and a toolbox just to make it look like someone was actually digging up something. And in that little hole in the ground, I actually did bury a fossil. And if we continue this way, there is a little tourist telescope for a small lookout area. And that is the finished build. Thank you so much, my beans, for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this. And remember, I will have all the creator codes linked down below along with all their information. And be sure to subscribe and follow my Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok for updates on when I post more videos. And I hope to see you next time.